Beneath the rising sun of Japan lies a tale as radiant as the dawn itself, the legend of Amaterasu, the Shinto sun goddess whose light gave life to the world. From her divine birth to the moment she hid away in a celestial cave, plunging the heavens into darkness, Amaterasu's story burns with mystery, power, and timeless wisdom. These are not just myths, they are the heartbeat of a nation's soul, carried through centuries of faith and tradition. Join us as we step into the sacred fire and uncover the luminous truth behind the fire of Amaterasu. Japanese Divine Tales. In the tapestry of Japanese mythology, few figures shine as brightly as Amaterasu Amakami, the radiant sun goddess of the Shinto pantheon. Her name translates to she who shines in the heavens, and her light is not only the source of physical illumination in the world, but also a symbol of life, order, and divine authority. For centuries, her story has been told and retold, from ancient court rituals to modern anime adaptations, carrying with it themes of hope, renewal, and the enduring bond between the divine and the mortal realms. The fire of Amaterasu is more than a literal flame or the sunlight she embodies. It is the spiritual vitality and cultural identity she has given to Japan. Her myths, preserved in sacred texts like the Kojiki, Records of Ancient Matters, and Nihon Shoki, Chronicles of Japan, reveal a deity who is both majestic and deeply human in her emotions. They also establish her as a central figure in Japan's imperial lineage, believed to be the direct ancestor of the emperors themselves. To understand Amaterasu's fire is to journey into the heart of Japanese spirituality, where divine light meets mortal life. The birth of the sun goddess. The story of Amaterasu begins with her parents, Izanagi and Izanami, the primordial creators of the islands of Japan. After the tragic death of Izanami, Izanagi descended into Yomi, the land of the dead, in an attempt to bring her back. His journey ended in horror, and upon returning to the world of the living, he performed a purification ritual, misogi, to cleanse himself from the taint of death. It was during this cleansing that Amaterasu was born. From Izanagi's left, I emerged the radiant sun goddess. From his right, I came Tsukuyami, the moon god, and from his nose sprang Susanoo, the storm god. The three siblings were tasked with ruling different realms: Amaterasu the heavens, Tsukuyami the night, and Susanoo the seas and storms. From her very first breath, Amaterasu was associated with light, order, and harmony. Izanagi, recognizing her brilliance, gifted her the most exalted position among the kami gods, placing her as ruler over the Takamagara, the high plane of heaven. The conflict with Susanoo, light and shadow collide. While Amaterasu embodied serenity and order, her brother Susanoo was wild, impulsive, and prone to chaos. His unruly behavior often brought destruction, and their relationship quickly soured. The most famous account of their conflict begins when Susanoo, in a fit of rage after being banished from his realm, decided to bid farewell to his sister. At first, he attempted to prove his sincerity through a ritual contest, creating deities from each other's sacred objects. But his behavior soon spiraled into acts of desecration, tearing up Amaterasu's rice fields, hurling flayed animals into her sacred halls, and causing general havoc. The final straw came when Susanoo smashed through the roof of Amaterasu's weaving hall, killing one of her attendants. Overcome with grief and fury, Amaterasu withdrew from the world, sealing herself inside the Aim no Iwado, the heavenly rock cave, the world without the sun. When Amaterasu hid herself away, her divine light vanished from the heavens. The world was plunged into darkness. Crops withered, rivers grew cold, and the kami fell into despair. Without the sun's warmth and light, chaos and suffering spread across the realms of both gods and humans. The image of the sun goddess retreating into a cave resonates deeply in Japanese spiritual thought. It is a metaphor for those times when hope feels lost, when leaders withdraw, and when communities face collective despair. But the story does not end in darkness. Shinto myths always carry a pathway back to harmony. The dance that brought back the sun. Desperate to bring Amaterasu out, the assembled gods devised a plan. They gathered outside the cave and placed a mirror, polished to a brilliant shine, at the entrance. Then Aim no Yuzum, the goddess of dawn, mirth, and revelry, performed an outrageous and joyful dance. Yuzum overturned a wooden tub, stomped upon it, and began stripping off her clothes while laughing and shouting. The other gods erupted into loud, raucous laughter. Inside the cave, Amaterasu heard the commotion and was puzzled. Why were the gods celebrating in a time of darkness? Curiosity got the better of her. She peeked out, and at that moment the mirror caught her reflection. She had never seen herself before, and her brilliance in the mirror astonished her. The gods seized the moment. Tajikareo, a deity of strength, pulled her out of the cave, and the world was instantly bathed in light once again. The sacred regalia, symbols of divine light. From this event came one of the most important cultural legacies of Japan, the three sacred treasures, Sanshu no Jinji, which are central to imperial authority and deeply tied to Amaterasu's myth. The mirror Yada no Kagami, symbol of wisdom and truth, representing the moment Amaterasu saw herself and understood her place in the world. The jewel Yasakani no Magatama, a curved bead symbolizing benevolence and the life-giving power of the sun. The sword Kusanagi no Tsurugi, originally from the slain eight-headed serpent by Susanoo. It symbolizes valor and the balance of power and responsibility. These regalia were entrusted to Amaterasu's grandson, Ninigi no Makoto, when she sent him to rule the earth, beginning the imperial line of Japan. Through this lineage, the Japanese emperor is considered her direct descendant, a living connection to the divine light. The fire of Amaterasu, more than just light. When we speak of the fire of Amaterasu, we are not referring only to the sun's physical heat. In Shinto understanding, her fire is the fire of renewal. Just as she emerged from the cave, societies can recover from periods of despair. The fire of order, her light restores balance, ensuring that chaos does not rule the world. The fire of identity, as the divine ancestor of Japan's imperial family, her presence defines national and spiritual unity. The fire of inspiration, her story has inspired countless festivals, works of art, and moral lessons about responsibility, forgiveness, and harmony. Cultural legacy, Amaterasu in Japan today. Amaterasu's influence is not confined to ancient texts. Her presence lives on in the Ise Grand Shrine Ise Jingu in Mie Prefecture, considered her most sacred site, rebuilt every 20 years in a tradition over 1,000 years old. Festivals like the Amano Wado Kagura, reenacting the dance of Aim no Yuzum, reminding communities of the joy that calls light back into the world. Imperial ceremonies, where the emperor's role as her descendant is reaffirmed through rituals. Modern media, where her myth is reimagined in films, literature, and anime, keeping her fire alive in popular culture. Lessons from the cave, myth as moral guide. Amaterasu's retreat and return offer profound lessons that transcend their ancient origins. Leadership requires presence. Just as the world suffered when she withdrew, communities falter when leaders abandon their responsibilities. Healing requires joy. The gods did not beg or threaten Amaterasu. They used joy, curiosity, and celebration to heal the wound. Self-reflection is power. Seeing herself in the mirror changed Amaterasu's perspective. Self-awareness can restore purpose. Light is a shared effort. The return of the sun was not the work of one god, but a collaboration, a reminder that community action is vital. Amaterasu and the feminine divine. In a global mythological landscape often dominated by male deities, Amaterasu stands out as a powerful female figure at the very center of a nation's spiritual and political identity. She is not a secondary goddess or a consort. She is the supreme ruler of the heavens. Her story challenges assumptions about leadership, gender, and divine authority. The fact that Japan's emperors derived their legitimacy from a goddess rather than a god is significant, signaling an ancient acknowledgement of the feminine as a source of life, order, and sovereignty. Modern interpretations, the fire rekindled. In today's world, Amaterasu's myth resonates beyond religious or national boundaries. Environmental movements in Japan have drawn on her symbolism, reminding people of their dependence on the sun's life-giving energy. Artists have depicted her emergence from the cave as a metaphor for breaking free from depression or social isolation. Even in political and social discourse, her story has been invoked to discuss themes of transparency, leadership accountability, and the power of collective action to restore light to dark times. The Eternal Dawn. The fire of Amaterasu continues to burn, not just in the rituals of Shinto shrines or the pages of ancient chronicles, but in the hearts of people who see in her story a mirror of their own struggles and triumphs. Her journey from the cave to the open sky is a reminder that light can be lost, but it can also be found again. When we speak of her fire, we speak of the warmth of renewal after hardship, the brightness of truth after confusion, and the shared glow of community after division. It is a fire that has burned for over 1,000 years, and if her followers have anything to say about it, it will burn for 1,000 more. Light that outlived the dawn. Amaterasu Amakami, the Shinto sun goddess, is one of the rare mythological figures whose story refuses to remain in the distant past. While many deities across world traditions fade into symbolic relics or the dusty margins of religious texts, Amaterasu's tale burns steadily, a living heritage passed down through Japan's spiritual, cultural, and even political veins. Her myth is not frozen in the Kojiki or Neon Shoki. It lives in the daily prayers of worshippers, the grand ceremonies of the imperial court, the rebuilt timbers of the ISC Grand Shrine, and even the cultural consciousness of modern Japan. Her story is not merely about the creation of light, but about the persistence of it, the will to bring light back after it has been lost. This is what makes her fire different from the physical sun. The sun will rise each day by nature's law, but the fire of Amaterasu is symbolic of human resilience, unity, and purpose. It is a light that must be nurtured, protected, and consciously carried forward. Amaterasu's fire, a living heritage. When we talk about heritage, we often think of tangible relics, swords in museums, ancient scrolls, or archaeological ruins. Amaterasu's heritage is something more dynamic. It is embedded in ritual practice, the seasonal ceremonies at Shinto shrines, especially at Ayase Jingu, where priests honor her with offerings of food, dance, and music. Imperial symbolism. The Japanese emperor, traditionally considered her direct descendant, carries the role of custodian of her divine mandate, reinforcing the idea that rulership must align with the light of truth and order. Cultural morality. Amaterasu's withdrawal from the world and her return is not just a religious parable. It is a reminder of the responsibility leaders and communities have to maintain harmony. Artistic legacy. Paintings, no plays, and modern adaptations continually refresh her story for each generation. This heritage lives because it is renewed through action, much like the shrine at Ayase, which is dismantled and rebuilt every 20 years in a symbolic act of both preservation and rebirth. Lessons etched in light. The myth of Amaterasu offers lessons that transcend time and geography. At its heart are values that still hold relevance in an age of rapid technological change and global uncertainty. 1. Light is a responsibility. Amaterasu's fire is not merely a gift, it is a duty. When she withdraws into the cave, the whole world suffers. The message is clear. Light must be shared, not hidden. This resonates in leadership, community involvement, and even personal relationships. When we withhold our light, our talents, compassion, or moral courage, the darkness grows. 2. Joy as a force of restoration. The gods brought her back, not through force, but through joy. Aim no Yuzum's laughter, dance, and music became a beacon strong enough to lure Amaterasu out. In human terms, this suggests that healing often comes not through confrontation, but through celebration, creativity, and connection. 3. Self-reflection as a turning point. The mirror placed at the cave's entrance is symbolic. It wasn't the gods telling Amaterasu who she was, it was her seeing herself. True transformation begins when we confront our own reflection and rediscover our place in the larger harmony. 4. Collective action over individual heroics. No single deity could restore the sun. It took the combined efforts of many. In modern society, this speaks to the necessity of collaborative problem-solving, whether in addressing climate change, social justice, or cultural preservation. From heaven to earth, the light in everyday life. In Shinto belief, Amaterasu's light is not a distant, untouchable phenomenon. It exists in daily acts, bowing before a shrine, offering rice to the kami, or tending to a garden. The fire is sustained through mindfulness, respect for nature, and living in harmony with others. This integration of the divine into everyday life is a defining trait of Japanese spirituality. The sun goddess is not just an object of worship on special occasions. She is part of the cycles of planting and harvest, festivals and family traditions, morning greetings and seasonal observances. The light we carry forward is therefore not abstract. It is made tangible through repetition and ritual. Amaterasu and the Japanese identity. It is difficult to overstate Amaterasu's role in shaping Japan's self-understanding. The belief that the imperial family descends from her elevates her from a cultural figure to a unifying national ancestor. This is not mere mythology. It is an active element in state ceremonies and constitutional symbolism. At the same time, her image transcends political boundaries. Artists, scholars, and everyday people view her as a representation of the Japanese spirit. Resilient in adversity, graceful in leadership, and luminous in cultural expression. In times of national crisis, her story becomes a rallying point, a reminder that Japan has faced darkness before and emerged into the light. The Ayase Grand Shrine, a temple of renewal. If Amaterasu's myth is the flame, the Ayase Grand Shrine is its hearth. Located in Mie Prefecture, it is considered the most sacred Shinto site and the physical embodiment of her presence on earth. Every 20 years, the shrine is entirely rebuilt, a tradition known as Shikinen Sengu. This ritual is more than architectural maintenance. It is a deliberate act of cultural memory. It ensures that the knowledge of building techniques, the spiritual significance of each timber, and the sense of sacred renewal are passed down to new generations. The shrine thus becomes a living metaphor for the light we carry forward, rebuilt, refreshed, and recommitted over time. The feminine source of sovereignty. Globally, divine authority often flows from male deities. Amaterasu's role as supreme ruler of the heavens stands out, especially because she is the source of Japan's imperial legitimacy. This is not an incidental detail. It suggests an ancient acknowledgement of the feminine as a life-giving and order-preserving force. In a contemporary world where gender equality remains a challenge, Amaterasu's story offers a model of female authority, that is neither tokenized nor secondary. Her leadership is rooted in wisdom, her sovereignty in responsibility. She is not a goddess because she supports a king. She is the queen of heaven itself. Amaterasu in modern culture. From literature to video games, Amaterasu's presence is alive in the creative imagination. The Okami video game reimagines her as a white wolf restoring light to a corrupted world. Manga series draw on her myth to frame epic battles or character arcs about redemption. Even tourism campaigns invoke her imagery to connect Japan's natural beauty with its spiritual heritage. Her adaptability across media speaks to the universality of her themes. Whether as a solemn deity in shrine rituals or a playful figure in pop culture, Amaterasu remains accessible without losing her dignity. This is part of why her light continues to burn. It is not confined to one expression. The light in times of darkness. In natural disasters, economic downturns, or social unrest, the metaphor of the cave returns. Darkness, whether literal or metaphorical, can feel absolute. Yet Amaterasu's emergence teaches that darkness is temporary when communities act together. For example, after the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, Japanese media and public speeches invoked imagery of the sun's return. In this context, Amaterasu was not just a religious figure. She was a symbol of national resilience and hope for recovery, carrying the light beyond Japan. While Amaterasu's story is deeply tied to Japanese culture, its core themes, leadership, renewal, community, are universal. Her myth can inspire other cultures to preserve their own heritage, to honor their natural environment, and to understand the balance between individual power and collective well-being. In a globalized world, carrying her light forward means also sharing it, translating her message for audiences who may never visit ISC, but who can understand the human need for hope after despair. Why the light endures. The endurance of Amaterasu's fire is not accidental. It survives because it is participatory. People actively choose to tell her story, to honor her through ritual, to weave her into art and conversation. In this way, her myth functions less as a passive relic and more as a living relationship between past and present. It also endures because it is adaptable. A myth that can speak both to ancient farmers praying for sunlight and to modern citizens seeking moral leadership has a unique vitality. It changes in expression without losing its essence. Becoming keepers of the flame. Amaterasu's tale reminds us that light is not guaranteed. It must be protected, renewed, and carried forward. We become keepers of her fire when we bring joy where there is despair, reflect honestly on ourselves before judging others, work together to restore harmony in our communities, preserve the traditions and wisdom that connect us to our ancestors. Her myth bridges Japan's ancient origins with its present identity, but it also extends a bridge to anyone willing to learn from her. The fire she gave is not hers alone. It belongs to all who understand its value. In carrying her light forward, we are not just retelling an old story. We are participating in it. Every act of kindness, every choice for unity over division, every effort to renew rather than discard is another step out of the cave and into the sunlight. The lesson is simple yet profound. The light we inherit is the light we create. And as long as we keep it burning, Amaterasu's dawn will never end. As the light of Amaterasu returns to the heavens, her story reminds us that even in the darkest moments, the sun waits to rise again. These ancient Japanese divine tales are more than folklore. They are a reflection of resilience, unity, and the enduring power of hope. If her fire has sparked your curiosity, let it guide you deeper into the world of myth and meaning. Like, share, and subscribe for more journeys into the heart of ancient legends. And remember, the light you carry within can shine as brightly as the goddess herself. Until next time, keep your fire burning.